I want to talk to you about the mind and specifically limiting beliefs, the beliefs that we hold that completely guide our perspective and guide all of our attention, really. What we think about is the creation cycle, is what activates the creation of our life. And until you really know that, I don't know if people are truly that careful about what they think about. Now, I want to tell you about the first limiting belief that I ever really became aware of and realized how detrimental this belief was and what it took for me to overcome this belief. And it was an imprint that I had no idea was there. So I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, which is my whole younger life. When I was a young guy, I basically spent my whole youth, I've always been a passionate person. I'm passionate now. Now I'm passionate about real estate. I love it. It's just like I'm just so in it. But at the time when I was young, I never had an actual passion for education and specifically for intellectualism, for the mind, any of these things. I was a passionate young athlete. I was really into skateboarding. I grew up as a break dancer. I was really in my body. Well, now I'm a rock climber. I'm still really in my body, but I was physically gifted, and that was something I knew. I was a belief. I know I'm physically gifted. And I basically did that for my whole youth. It wasn't until I was a bit older and it was time I graduated from high school, and I'm like, what am I going to do? And I decided I want to go back to university. And when I looked into what I wanted to study, I developed a passion for finance. And this was the first intellectually oriented pursuit I'd ever had a passion for. But there was a belief. I had a belief that I'm not an intelligent person. This is going to be a problem because part of finance and getting your degree in finance is you have to go through Calculus 1, Calculus 2, subjects that I used to struggle with. I didn't get good grades in all those topics. Now, in my mind, I was like, but I want to do this. This is something I want. And so in my head, I created this story, which in a way kind of panned out, but I was like, I'm not that intelligent. And so for me to do well in this topic, I'm going to have to study a lot more than your average person because I actually am not gifted when it comes to intellectualism. And basically, I asked the professor, I'm like, how much do people usually study? And he said about for every hour in class, people study about 2 or 3 hours. I'm like, okay, well then an idiot like me, I'm going to have to study like probably 6 hours, like at least twice as much as your average person in order to keep up. So I blocked off the time and I prioritized it, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to like take my time. I'm going to read the textbook. I'm going to do every single question at the back of the textbook for every single module and every chapter. But I'm going to block off the time so that with my slow mindset, I'm going to be able to keep up. Now, in the school, I went to university up north at a university called UNBC, and there was a room called the Mace Room, and it's where all in my mind, the math dorks hang out, and they just like do problem solving, and they're doing proofs, and they have the big board, and they're just like, it's like a teaching center for math that was just free, offered by the university, called the Mace Room. So I would go to the Mace Room. After every calculus class, I'd go off to the Mace Room, and I'd just sit down, take my time, get my books out, and just slowly, systematically work through every question. And there's all these other like math dorks sitting, that's what I thought at the time, but math people just hanging out, a lot of really smart people too. So whenever I didn't understand something, I'd go ask, and I'd talk to like someone. I'd be like, hey, do you know how to do this? And they'd be like, people were just so helpful. They'd help me out. It was like a little community. And I really started to enjoy my time in the Mace Room. And it was one of my favorite places, like a little sanctuary to go and just like relax and study. Now, the interesting shift happens when I was in the Mace Room so often that I started noticing other students sometimes would come to class, and they would always see me at the Mace Room and I would just be sitting there doing all the problems, and I started asking me questions. And I would always have the answers because I'm just sitting there doing every single question just one by one. I'd be like, no problem. Like, this is how you do this one. And sometimes I'd go up on the board, and it was like within a few months, I'm up on the board now, and I'm teaching people how to do these complex, well, not complex, I'm sure in greater terms, but like for calculus, it's calculus problems. And like, I'm out there teaching now. All of a sudden I'm teaching calculus. And this belief starts to shift. I'm like, wait a minute. am I not good at math and that's why I have to study extra, or was I just not applying myself and I didn't care and that's why I didn't do well in these topics previously? So you start pondering these things, and things really shifted, and it was really funny actually, because one day my mom, at the end of the term, I got a letter in the mail back to my house back in Vancouver, right? So I was up north in Prince George, and I got a letter. My mom finds the letter, and she's like, "You have a letter from the university, from the calculus department." I'm like, "Cool." We open it, and she's standing there, and it is a letter of honorary recognition, because I had the highest, I got an A+ in the class, and I had the top mark in calculus 1 and 2. My mom is like, this must be a mistake. So she is like dumbfounded. And even me, I'm like surprised, but I'm like, oh, wow, cool. But the belief shifts. The whole identity structure behind it changed and just shifted in a minute. You're good at what you apply yourself to. It's what made me a great skateboarder. It's now what makes me a good rock climber. And it's ultimately what has led me to be a great real estate investor. You are good at what you apply yourself to. And for people like me, I apply myself to what I'm passionate about. And then I study. I don't think I'm still ever like the most strong learner, but I'm so consistent that I just absorb things. And then once I know it, I never forget it. I'm one of those types of learners. But it's about the power of belief. And these limiting beliefs, if you don't, first of all, identify these limiting beliefs, you'll never be able to overcome them. It's like awareness is the root of everything. If you want to change something first, you must become aware of it. So anyone watching this video now, you have to become aware of the limitations that are holding you back from the things that you dream of, the dreams in your life. There's two parts to it. First, we need to dream, and then we need to identify all the limiting thoughts that follow us as we dream, right? I want this incredible thing. And then all these thoughts back up, oh no, you can't have that, and all these limiting beliefs show up. So it's a really easy way to actually identify your limiting beliefs, is actually to dream big and then watch the beliefs that come in to try and sabotage it. So it's really fascinating, and we all have them. At all times, we always all have them. And that's my story about limiting beliefs. That was the first time I ever identified a limiting belief and watched it change in real time. I'm like, oh my God, like a paradigm just shifted for me. Anyway, that's it for this video. A little lesson on mindset. Whatever you're doing, whether you're a real estate investor or you're applying that to business, entrepreneurship, maybe working out, whatever it is, be aware. Hey, my name is Brad Samuels. I hope you enjoyed the last video and you got some value from it. Our mission here is to inspire leaders and entrepreneurs from all over the world to create lives of wealth and freedom. And the vision I have is to create the most exploratory education portal in the world on the topics of wealth and freedom. As always, I support you in your sacred quest for freedom, purpose, and prosperity. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.